In this short video, we're going to learn how to derive the short-run supply curve for both a firm and a market. Let's imagine that Golden Orchard is one of 36 identical producers of cashews. They have a short-run total cost curve of 30 plus 18Q plus 3Q squared. We want to first determine Golden Orchard's short-run supply curve, making sure to specify for what prices the supply curve holds. So this is just a code word for saying you also need to find the shutdown price. And then after we find the short-run supply curve for a single firm, we will find the short-run market supply curve, again, making sure to specify for which prices the supply curve holds. So what do we need to know to answer this question? Well, to find the firm's supply curve, we just need their total cost function. To find the market supply curve, we need the total cost function, and we also need to know the number of firms in the market. How are we going to solve this question? To find the firm supply, we will set price equal to the marginal cost curve and solve for Q. And then to specify for which prices this supply curve holds, we will need to find the shutdown price, which is at the minimum of the average variable cost. In order to find the market supply curve, we will take the firm supply that we found in the first part and we'll multiply it by the number of firms in the market, which in this question is 36. Let's see how we solve this question. So we have the total cost function, and we also know there are 36 identical firms. And our goal is to first find the firm's supply curve as well as their shutdown price. And then using that firm supply curve, we'll be able to derive the market supply curve. Because we're looking for the firm's supply curve, the first step that we really need to engage in here is we need to find the marginal cost curve. The reason for this is firms produce where price equals marginal cost, and that's really going to be how we derive the supply curve. So the marginal cost is just the first derivative of the total cost function. So we can think of it as this is the derivative of total cost with respect to Q. Focusing on our total cost function over here, we're just going to differentiate, and we get 18, oops, I'll make that a little smaller for you, 18 plus 6Q. So we take that derivative, we find the marginal cost, and then we're going to take that marginal cost function, we're going to set it equal to price, and we're going to solve for Q. Why are we solving for Q? Because the supply curve traditionally tells us how output, quantity supplied, depends on price. So I have 18 plus 6Q is equal to P. My goal is to solve for Q, so I'm going to start by subtracting 18 from both sides. So I can rewrite this as 6Q is equal to P minus 18. And then I could say, hey, Q is equal to P minus 18 divided by 6. Typically in this class, we sort of update our notation a little bit, and rather than saying Q is equal to P minus 18 over 6, we're going to write this as SS of P, where these are lowercase s's, and it's indicating the short-run supply of the firm, is equal to P minus 18 over 6. This is great, so this is the firm supply curve, but we also have to talk about the shutdown price. Just as a reminder, the shutdown price is the minimum of the average variable cost. So the first thing we have to do is compute the average variable cost. Average variable cost is variable cost divided by Q. How do we find variable cost? We look at our total cost function. We identify the parts of it that vary with output. So 18Q plus 3Q squared is our variable cost. That means that average variable cost is 18Q plus Q squared all divided by Q, which can be simplified to plus 3Q squared. 18 plus 3Q. Okay, so just to recap, we found the marginal cost, we set it equal to price, and then we solved for Q, and that gave us our supply curve for a single firm. Then we had to have a little conversation about the shutdown price. We're not there yet, but we've at least solved for the average variable cost, and now we need to find the minimum of this curve. So we're on track to solve for the shutdown price. We know the average variable cost, but we need to find the minimum of the average variable cost curve. To do that, we're going to set average variable cost equal to marginal cost and solve for Q. So I have 18 plus 3Q is equal to 18 plus 6Q. Taking a look at this equation, the 18's cancel, and I'm left with 3Q equals 6Q, or if you prefer, you can subtract 3Q from both sides, and you can say 0 is equal to 3Q. Yes, 6Q minus 3Q is 3Q. Well, this doesn't make any sense unless there's only one Q that makes this true, and that's Q equals 0. This is a relatively common result when solving for the shutdown price. It depends, whether you see it depends on the structure of the total cost curve. But here, because our total cost curve only goes to a Q squared term, we sort of expect to see this result that the point at which marginal and average variable cost equal each other is actually where Q is 0. Once we know that Q is 0, we just take that value, we substitute it back into the average variable cost curve to find the shutdown price. So the shutdown price is the minimum of the average variable cost. We know average variable cost is minimized when Q is 0. So the shutdown price is 18 plus 3 times 0, which is, of course, $18. So we can put everything we know all together. We know that the short-run supply curve for a firm is P minus 18 over 6, but this only holds if price is greater than or equal to 18. Otherwise, they supply 0. So we've done this. Now it's on to the market supply curve. Finding the market supply curve is simple. It's just a matter of multiplying the firm supply curve by the number of firms in the market. This, of course, hinges on the fact that these firms are identical. So, plugging in what we know, we get that the market supply curve is equal to 36 times P minus 18 divided by 6. This is all if price is greater than or equal to 18. We can do a little bit of canceling. The 36 cancels with the 6 to become a 6. And then some simplification. The short-run market supply curve is equal to 6P minus 6 times 18, which is 108, if price is greater than or equal to 18. And that is actually our final solution. Finding this market supply curve is just one step further, really, than finding the firm supply curve and the firm shutdown price.